The day before, after introducing themselves to Sejan, the rabbits expressed their desire to live in the cave. They looked so adorable as they tried to convince him. Sejan almost felt overwhelmed by their cuteness and agreed to their request, but with a condition. He told them they could stay only if they helped him with farming. He expected the condition to give them pause, but they enthusiastically accepted, even jumping at him and cuddling. Sejan had to show restraint to avoid letting them in right away because their soft fur and cuddles made him want to adopt them instantly. Now, he sits in his usual spot, observing the rabbits as they work. He thinks they might be using their cuteness to influence him, but he doesn't mind. In fact, he finds it kind of charming. With that thought, he asks them about the tools they're using. The male rabbit has a watering can that seems to have an endless water supply, and Sejan isn't entirely sure, but he thinks the female rabbit might have a magical pocket containing all the farming tools she needs. Sejan admits to feeling jealous and wishing he had such a fantastic item. The rabbits finish harvesting the green onions, and they're excited to show their harvest to Sejan. Sejan tells the rabbits to dry the green onions and begins checking on the other crops. However, the rabbits are looking at him eagerly and impatiently. They have a question, and Sejan understands what they're after. He lets them know that they've passed his test and are welcome to live in the cave. The rabbits leap for joy upon hearing this good news. They chatter excitedly and then hurry to a corner of the cave. Sejan wonders what they're up to now. The wife gives her husband a shovel, and he starts digging. In no time, he manages to create a cozy home for them. The wife places a lovely floral wreath on the door as a decoration and invites her husband in. However, he's exhausted from all the digging and building, struggling to stand. Sejan approaches them and praises the husband rabbit for making a house so quickly. The husband rabbit gives Sejan a thumbs up, but then the wife rabbit blushes and playfully points at the door, making her husband nervous. Despite his fear, she leads him inside for a sweet moment together. Sejan hears the sounds from their house and silently wishes the husband well, though he feels a tinge of jealousy for not having someone like that. His jealousy doesn't last long, though. Sejan walks back to his spot, saying that it used to be boring to be alone in the cave. Thanks to the rabbits, he now has companions to help him and something cute to watch. As he says this, he lies down on the dried onion leaves. Suddenly, smoke starts rising from under his back, and Sejan feels something hot. He jumps up, rolling on the ground as he feels his back burning. Wondering what just happened, he gets up and spots the reason. A plastic water bottle filled with water was acting like a lens, concentrating sunlight and burning the dried onion leaves. Inspiration strikes Sejan, and he goes into full wild survival mode. He starts acting like the host of a popular survival show, explaining how he didn't give up in the tough tower environment. With a plastic bottle and dried green onions, he managed to survive. Coming back to his normal self, Sejan chuckles at the unexpected turn of events. Sejan realizes that he can use the plastic bottle as a convex lens to start a fire, something he learned from a famous survival show. However, it doesn't work, and he starts to cry and whine in frustration. The dried leaves only produce a small amount of smoke, not catching fire. Feeling disheartened, he sighs, thinking about what he's doing wrong. Then, a small spark appears, and Sejan figures out what was missing. The rabbits come out of their house and notice Sejan doing something they don't quite understand. He's blowing wind on the pile of dried leaves in hopes that they catch fire. The rabbits approach him, and Sejan asks for their help in blowing wind on the leaves while he uses the bottle as a lens. They start working together, and Sejan desperately hopes for a fire. After a bit of effort, the leaves finally catch fire. Sejan is overjoyed. He finally has fire. He looks back at the onion plants and decides to roast them. He roasts one stalk over the fire, while the rabbits watch with confusion. Sejan believes the onion is roasted enough, peels off the burnt part, and takes a bite. He shudders in delight, letting out a cry of joy. The roasted onion leaf is incredibly sweet, making Sejan so happy. He describes the taste as if his mouth were a horse running wild in a green field. He repeats how delicious it is and starts roasting another one. The rabbits are curious about how cooking changes the taste, so they roast one for themselves. As they eat it, their eyes gleam with joy over the sweet flavor. Sejan marks this as the second entry in his diary about staying in the tower. He's discovered fire, had warm food, and gone to bed contentedly. Many days have passed, and he's now accustomed to the farmer's lifestyle. He wakes up in the morning, washes his face at the pond, tends to his crops, and completes harvesting the green onions for the day. He's also finished watering the tomato and sweet potato plants. Sejan feels good and ready for the day. He reflects on the various events that have happened in the past few days since he discovered fire. With the rabbits' help, they've even made torches from green onion leaves to light up the cave, making it easier to move around, especially in the darker areas like near the pond. One day, Sejan was by the pond holding a torch when he noticed something moving in the water. A fish suddenly leaped out of the water, startling Sejan. He managed to dodge its open mouth just in time. The fish had jumped too forcefully and ended up on land, unable to return to the water. This was the first time Sejan had seen something like this. He wondered if the fish was attracted to the light of the torch, and his hunch turned out to be correct. And just like that, Sejan discovered fish in the cave. Sejan decided to catch and cook the fish over the fire, even though he had no seasonings. Surprisingly, the fish tasted really good. As Sejan enjoyed his meal, he noticed the rabbits eyeing the fish, drooling, and asking for a share. He was shocked that the rabbits, essentially monsters, were interested in eating meat. He thought it might be natural for them. 2 days later, the blue moon appeared. Sejan used his phone to find out that the blue moon showed up every 30 days on this floor. He had a laptop and a power bank to keep his phone charged so he could keep track of the date. But eventually, their batteries ran out, so Sejan started marking the number of days on a wall to keep track of time. Presently, it's the 61st day, and Sejan is grateful to the rabbits. They go to bed at 7 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m., allowing him to count the days accurately. Even though the sun never sets in the tower, their body clocks are dependable. A few days ago, something amazing happened. The tired husband rabbit opened the door of their house, and a bunch of baby rabbits dashed out. They were the offspring of the rabbit couple recently born. Now, they adore Sejan, considering him their uncle. They rush towards him, jumping on him and knocking him to the ground. The baby rabbits are incredibly cute, and Sejan can't help but be enchanted by their adorable antics, even as they nibble on his face. He laughs and enjoys their company. Looking at the sleep-deprived husband rabbit, Sejan acknowledges how challenging it must be to raise the babies. He kindly offers to take care of the babies for a while, suggesting that the rabbit couple should relax and have breakfast. As Sejan heads to check on his cherry tomato plants, he brings the baby rabbits along with him. The babies playfully explore the farm while Sejan inspects his plants. He's delighted to see that the flowers have bloomed, and even though they're tomato flowers, he playfully considers it his own flower garden. Since pollination is necessary for the plants to bear fruit, Sejan takes it upon himself to manually pollinate the flowers using a small stick. However, all the bending and work start to strain his back. He playfully mentions that it would be amazing if there were bees around, though he knows it might be wishful thinking. One of the baby rabbits accidentally gets pollen on its face from a flower and sneezes, which sends Sejan into fits of laughter. But then Sejan notices something wonderful. His tomato plants have started to produce fruit. After all his hard work, the results are finally showing. Sejan celebrates the first fruits of his cherry tomato plants and even dances with one of the baby rabbits. The day before the blue moon approaches, Sejan makes preparations to survive it. He extinguishes the fire and stashes some burning leaves under large boulders. He's wearing makeshift clothes made from onion leaves, thinking they'll help him stay warm and hidden. The rabbits also return to their homes as the time for the blue moon gets closer. There's something scary that happens whenever the blue moon occurs, but Sejan is confident that they can weather it, just like they have before. He's hopeful that it will be uneventful and goes into hiding. Once the blue moon starts, monsters begin screeching throughout the forest. Sejan remains unafraid but tired, hoping that the blue moon will end soon. In case of an unlikely situation, he's hidden items with strong odors and is now patiently waiting in a corner. However, since it's hard to estimate the passage of time, he grows weary of waiting. The distant cries of the monsters add to his discomfort, causing him to shiver as he wishes for this blue moon to pass without incident. Sejan hears a mighty roar. different from the other monster sounds, more powerful and closer. He realizes a colossal monster is coming towards the cave, smashing trees under its feet. The monster reaches the cave entrance, way too small for its enormous size. It gazes down the hole, and Sejan's eyes widen as he spots it. Even though he's really scared of the massive bear-like creature, he's lucky it hasn't seen him yet. Quickly, he figures he needs a better hiding spot before the monster notices him. Shivering, he grabs his bag and starts moving silently, but carrying the bag turns out to be a mistake. The bag's contents spill out, and Sejan rushes to pick them up. The noise from the empty water bottle echoes, catching the monster's attention. Sejan looks horrified at his stuff and the huge beast trying to peek into the cave. He screams in fear and the monster roars back. A little later, Sejan is fast asleep, and the rabbits are trying to wake him up. When the baby rabbits can't wake him, their father gently slaps Sejan, and he wakes up. Sejan sits up, still shocked and scared by what he saw before passing out. He asks the rabbits what happened to the blue moon, and as he looks around, he realizes it's gone. The husband rabbit explains that Sejan was unconscious when they found him. The husband rabbit jokes that Sejan passed away from fright when he saw the monster. But now he's curious about what happened afterward when the monster tried to get into the cave. He was too scared to move, and the monster's roars were overwhelming. Sejan shivers as he remembers it all, feeling the fear of almost losing his life at the hands of that gigantic monster. Sejan feels a chill, so the wife rabbit builds a big fire and arranges a cozy blanket of onion leaves. Sejan sits near the fire, cuddling with the baby rabbits. The wife rabbit also brings him some roasted fish, and Sejan thanks her. As Sejan enjoys his meal, he notices that the monster seemed to have noticed this area. Maybe it was because of another monster, or because it couldn't fit through the small cave entrance. Luckily, the monster left without causing any harm. However, Sejan realizes that there's no guarantee it will be the same next time. He thinks he got lucky this time, but the next encounter might be different. After all he's done to survive, he doesn't want to die. Sejan decides the best thing he can do right now is to eat well and keep himself alive. As Sejan finishes his meal, the husband rabbit approaches him, wanting to show him something. Sejan follows him and is stunned by what he sees, a ripe cherry tomato. But it's unlike anything he expected. This tomato is blue and shiny in the sunlight. Sejan is amazed by the unusual color of the fruit. He bends down to pick up the large, ripe tomato and wonders why it's blue. Suddenly, something appears in front of him. A window opens up. The window tells him that he has completed a quest, harvesting the fruit that holds the energy of the blue moon. Sejan is shocked, struggling to believe that the message window is real. The message on the window changes, and it informs him that the tower's manager is interested in him due to his remarkable achievements. However, there's a twist. The manager isn't happy. Sejan is confused. Why wouldn't the tower manager be pleased? The husband rabbit is clueless about what's happening. The window tells Sejan that he wasn't a proper invited guest, and the tower manager considers it a mistake. The manager wants to hide something. Sejan is taken aback, questioning the window's meaning. Could it be a mistake that he ended up in the tower? He becomes upset, expressing his frustration that after spending more than 2 months here, the tower manager had the audacity to claim it was a mistake. Sejan even demands to be allowed to go home immediately, but the window explains that the tower's master wants to eliminate him to erase all evidence of this mistake. Sejan is totally surprised. He shouts at the screen, saying that he finished a great achievement, and instead of rewarding him, the manager wanted to hurt him. The system window becomes quiet for a while, and Sejan wonders what's going on. The next message he gets changes his feelings from scared and angry to really happy. The tower manager is awakening him. Suddenly, Sejan feels a strange energy around him as soon as the message pops up. He can't believe it, and the window confirms that he's now officially awakened in the tower. Now he's curious about his job. Since he's pretty smart, he's hoping to be a wizard. The tower master is giving him a job, and Sejan waits excitedly to find out which one it is. And guess what? His job is to be a tower farmer with a rank of F proficiency. All the happiness and excitement quickly leave Sejan's face, and he's left feeling blank. The windows keep sending him messages about his job. He won't ever get sick and will be close to nature because of his job. He'll earn experience points by harvesting crops. Sejong is super surprised. Inside the tower, there were only warrior and magician jobs. How could he end up being a farmer? He tells the system to show his status window and sees that his talent is just ordinary, and all his stats are at 1. He keeps staring at the status window, but the only thing he can think about is his ordinary talent. He starts imagining a crazy scenario where he's successful in clearing the tower. He's a special guest on a late-night talk show. The host introduces him as the guy who finished the tower, even though he had just an ordinary talent. The audience claps for Sejong, and then the host asks him about his job. Sejong acts really cool and says he's a tower farmer. Everyone in the audience finds him attractive, but this made-up situation feels pretty silly. Even though Sejong cleared the tower in his imagination, he's still just a farmer. He gets so frustrated that he wants to smash the blue tomato on the ground, saying he doesn't want it. But then he looks at the worried faces of the rabbits and stops. Sejong is surprised by how his actions affected his friends. He looks at his farm and then at the tomato in his hand. He realizes that he didn't do everything alone. Everyone worked really hard to get to this point. Sejong decides that he's going to keep on farming, and the rabbits are really happy about it. He looks at the blue tomato in his hand, and suddenly an information window pops up. It tells him all about the tomato. It's a magical cherry tomato filled with the special power of the blue moon. Not only is it tasty and healthy, but when you eat it, your MP increases by 0.05 forever. Sejong is super surprised. The tomato he's holding is actually a valuable item. Even though the effect is small, it's permanent and can make your stats better. He's totally amazed by what he's accomplished, growing something this incredible. But guess what? The tower manager is keeping an eye on him, and he's not happy with how things are going. While Sejong is thanking the rabbits and celebrating with them for this amazing achievement, a message window suddenly appears in front of him. A quest has started. He needs to offer the blue cherry tomato to the manager. The reward for completing the quest is a skill related to his job, but if he says no, the punishment is death. Sejong reads the whole message, and when he sees that the penalty is death, he gets really scared. He asks the window if it's some kind of joke, and if it's not, it's a really mean one. Sejong can't believe that such a terrible thing is happening. He's mad and accuses the admin of blackmail. He thinks it is using this quest as an excuse to do something so drastic. Sejong tells the admin that if it wants something, it should ask for it properly. Playing these sneaky games and making it look like it is giving him an option isn't fair. He's a bit relieved after letting out his frustration, but he also wonders how little his life must mean to the admin if it is willing to kill him just for not giving up one tomato. But even though he's scared, Sejong decides to give up and offers the blue tomato to the admin. The admin spares his life, and the tomato disappears from Sejong's hand. He gets a message saying he completed the quest. Sejong was really excited when the next window popped up. He was eager to see what reward he would get for completing the quest. He knew it was going to be related to his job, but he had been so worried about the punishment that he had forgotten about the reward for a moment. He decided to say something nice to the tower manager, calling him generous. After that, he wanted to find out what kind of skill he had received. Opening the quest reward, he learned that he had gained the skill sowing at level 1. This skill was supposed to help seeds grow better when he planted them. He didn't quite know how to react, and even though he felt a bit disappointed, he told himself that being a tower farmer, he shouldn't expect too much from the reward.